Okay, tonight it is my absolute pleasure to introduce Mark, our main speaker for this evening.
All right. Thank you. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Good evening. My name is Mark, and I am an alcoholic.
Hello, Mark.
And I'm very, very grateful to be here tonight. Thank you, James, for asking me to speak tonight. It's really cool when you stick around and go to meetings and, you know, kind of start being a part of, even if you're not trying to be a part of. You make some new friends, you meet some new people, and hopefully you come to find that, you know, even though we're not perfect and stuff, that there's people that care about us in the world. And I know for many years, especially when I was drinking, I didn't think people cared, and whether it was a delusion that I lived in, which it was, or not, that was my perception. And like Jacob was saying, you know, I had a lot of reason, excuses, and justifications as to why I drank. And I spent many years justifying my drinking. Man, so many thoughts and reasons why, you know, anywhere from it's her fault, it's the boss's fault, you know, I'm going to drink no matter what, don't tell me I can't, that I'm going to drink because you told me I can't, you know, or whatever the reasons are, you know. It's just, there's just like an endless list of excuses and reasons, and, you know, but there was only one reason why I ended up in these rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, and the reason I ended up coming to Alcoholics Anonymous is because I couldn't stop drinking, you know. I tried for years to stop, and there were times I got short periods of not drinking, whether it was a week, a day, a month. I think the longest I got drinking or not drinking, or trying to stop, quitting, whatever you want to call it, was probably about a year and a half, and I have to say that was probably one of the most miserable times in my life, because I always had the desire to drink. You know, the desire to drink never left. And so my life was very miserable. And even when I wasn't drinking, it was unmanageable, because I still did not feel a part of. I still didn't feel like I was connected to people, or whatever the reason was. I was just miserable. And, you know, I'm kind of going to jump around. I've spoke at meetings several times, and I was praying before the meeting, asking God to help me share some stuff differently, you know, change it up some. A lot of things have changed in my life. You know, that's what's cool part about this program is my life hasn't stayed the same since I got sober. You know, when I first got sober in March 12, 2009 is my first day without taking a drink. My last time of drinking was the day before that. So it's been a little over 6 years, and a lot of things have changed in 6 years. You know what it was like? Oh man, it was a mess. It sucked. You know, falling apart, it was like trying to climb a ladder that was always falling. You know, it's like the hamster on a wheel, I guess that's what it would look like. I guess the hamster on a wheel, it would look like he's climbing a ladder, right? Because he doesn't see behind it, he just sees what's in front of him. So I guess that's pretty good. Makes sense. So that's what life was like for me. It's like if I didn't spin that wheel, then everything fell apart. And so I had to keep spinning this wheel. But what I found for me is I didn't have the power to carry nothing out. And when I put alcohol into my body, something happened. All of a sudden, I felt a power. You know, alcohol was a power greater than me, because, you know, from the age of, 14 years old, 15 years old, 16 years old, you know, whatever insecurities or whatever low self-esteem, connecting with anybody, whether it was family, friends, her, didn't matter. When I put that alcohol in me, that restless, irritable, discontent feeling, that uncertainty, that scared little kid that I was, when I put that alcohol in, all of a sudden I experienced a new freedom and a new happiness, you know, and a power greater than myself that allowed me to walk through it and break down walls that I had built around myself to protect me from you and from everyone around me. So when I put alcohol in there and those walls fell, all of a sudden you liked me. All of a sudden I can share and talk to you and not have fear. The only problem with that is that when the alcohol wore out, the wall came back. So I had to put more alcohol to do that and to break down those walls. And I had to keep the alcohol in there, because if I didn't, then you would eventually I couldn't be the way I was when I was drinking, when I was sober. So, I had to keep the alcohol inside of me and keep that effect going, because if I didn't, then you're going to find out who I really was, and you weren't going to like me, and then you were going to leave, and then my life was going to suck again. And so I never really thought I had a problem, other than the fact that, I just couldn't hold on to relationships. I started drinking when I was 14, 15 years old, and going to parties and stuff like that. I think, I was told that's normal teenage behavior, and I think that's what I normally saw in my family, or that was kind of the pattern of life in society as I knew it. Well, come to find that that's not normal, but to me it was normal. And so I fit right in. I put that drink in me, man. I love to drink. From the moment I started drinking, I loved drinking, and I wanted to drink, and I didn't want to stop. And my life became very unmanageable. I couldn't see it. I couldn't see it at the time, but after working some steps, I saw really quickly that my life became very unmanageable. It started right off the get-go. Once I put that alcohol in me, I lost control. I couldn't stop. I didn't want to stop. I had no desire to stop. And I drank like that for many years. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to jump without going through all my war stories and history of drinking. I just want to say that I spent a lot of time drinking a lot. In the book it calls it at some point in our drinking career. And I think that's for a lot of alcoholics, that's what it is. It doesn't have to be that way, but for a lot of alcoholics, I spent about 19 years drinking, or trying not to drink, or trying to manage and control my drinking. And my whole drinking career was either trying to drink without getting into trouble. I spent a lot of time trying to drink without consequence. And I spent a lot of time thinking of consequences and saying, okay, if I just remember those consequences, I won't drink. And then finding myself drunk again, and getting more consequences. And I'm like, dang, this is nuts. And there's a part I want to read in the book, because it really helped me to understand what it was, that was going on with me. And just to give you some information, this is the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, right here. They call it the Big Book. It's the name that was given when they first wrote the book. They had it in big print. It was a big book. It was literally a big book. But this is the Alcoholics Anonymous text. This is the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions which accompanies this book. This is, where's the... It looks all nice with the cover and all that stuff, but when you take the cover off, it's a blue book like this. So that's what I'm reading out of. And, this one right here really helped me. And the crazy part is I didn't read this till like a couple of years after I was sober, where it really sunk into me. And it talks about there's a world of ignorance and misunderstanding. And it says that we see that these expressions refer to people whose reactions are very different from ours. And above that, what it talks about is there's some people that have said to us or to me, I can take it or leave it alone. Why can't he? Why don't you drink like a gentleman or quit? That fellow can handle his liquor. Why don't you try beer or wine? Lay off the hard stuff. His willpower must be weak. Right? He could stop if he wanted to. She's such a sweet girl. I should think he'd stop for her sake. The doctor told him that if he ever drank again, it would kill him. But there he is, all lit up again. And it says, now these are commonplace observations on drinkers, which we hear all the time. Back of them is a world of ignorance and misunderstanding. We see that these expressions refer to people whose reactions are very different from ours. Moderate drinkers have little trouble in giving up liquor entirely if they have a good reason for it. They can take it or leave it alone. Then we have a certain type of hard drinker. He may have the habit badly enough to gradually impair him physically and mentally. It may cause him to die a few years before his time. If a sufficiently strong reason, ill health, falling in love, change of environment, a warning from a doctor, becomes operative, this man can also stop or moderate. Although he may find it difficult and troublesome, he may even need medical attention. Maybe a treatment center, rehab, stuff like that. But these two types of drinkers can stop. they have the power to stop. And then it talks about, well, what about the real alcoholic? He may start off as a moderate drinker. He may or may not become a continuous hard drinker. But at some stage of his drinking career, he begins to lose all control of his liquor consumption once he starts to drink. And here's a fellow who's puzzling you, and it goes into this long description of what that real alcoholic was, what it is. And when I finally read that, I said, oh man, and I read the whole thing, and I'm like, dang. I'm like, so if I'm not the real alcoholic, if I can stop, then this is the parts of the book that I need to read, But if I'm a real alcoholic, then there's some work for me to do, There's a solution, but I gotta be willing to go any length to get that solution. The book tells me that if I'm a real alcoholic, I have two choices. Either I accept spiritual help, which comes in the form of working those 12 steps, or I'm doomed an alcoholic death. And coming into Alcoholics, I say at the age of 19 years old, when I first came to Alcoholics Anonymous, I wasn't really trying to hear that, because I didn't have a desire to stop. I didn't want to stop. I came on a court card for my first DUI, and I heard some guy, he was sharing, everybody was sharing, my name's Mark, I'm an alcoholic. And this one guy said, my name's, I don't know what his name is, I'll say Richard, and I'm a real alcoholic. And I'd look at him and say, man, who does this guy think he is? What is he different than the other alcoholics? Why is he saying that, But here I am, 23, 24 years later, and I still remember what that guy looks like, how he said it, and today I go, man, I know what he's talking about now. So what I've learned, too, in this program is that a lot of things that people share may not make sense to me when I'm hearing it, but there's at some point down the line, I look back and say, oh, my God, that guy that said that like 10 years ago, that makes sense now. So my hope is that some of the things that I share with you will make sense later. Or I hope they make sense now. I mean, that'd be the most awesome thing. The most incredible thing is if, there's alcoholics that are suffering, like today, that they'll hear something, and then all of a sudden they'll just I need a big book, and I need a sponsor, and I'm willing to go any length, and let's work some steps and recover. That would be really, really awesome. It would be really, that'd be my hope. My experience tells me that's typically not how it works. My experience for me was I came to these rooms on my own without a court card 4 years before I actually surrendered. I heard the word surrender shared a couple times. And, I think for me what it comes down to is I was always counting the cost. But I wasn't counting the cost of surrendering or doing things God's way or your way or AA way or nothing like that. I was always counting the cost of what it's going to be like to step in the ring or to get back into the battle and fight again. It's I wasn't counting the cost of surrendering. I was counting the cost of fighting. I was trying to beat this. Okay, maybe if I do it this way, if I try this time, I tried every unmanageable remedy. I tried everything that I possibly could to stop drinking. I tried on my own willpower. I mean, that one was obviously not going to work from the get-go. I tried going to treatment centers, rehabs, and that was always on a condition of my insurance. So I wanted to be inpatient. I needed help, lock me up, And they'd be like, sorry, your insurance only covers you 70 days outpatient. So I'm like, dang, I guess I'll have to take that, It's, whatever that looks like. And, and I tried, going to church. I tried, there's so many things, and there's so many things out there that are not bad things. They're not, and I participate in a lot of things outside of Alcoholics Anonymous. But it was Alcoholics Anonymous that was able to help me understand and help me connect to myself and give me a solution that I needed to not only stop drinking, but to remove that obsession, because my problem was even if I stopped drinking, that desire was still there, that obsession was still there. And so I needed some help with that because, if that didn't go away, then I was going to drink again, And so for 4 years, I came into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. Let's see that clock real quick. I came into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I listened to everything that everybody was saying in the rooms. I would come in drinking sometimes. I'd have beer in the car, and I'd drink a few beers before I came into the meeting because I had to make it an hour and a half. That's a long time without drinking, when you're drinking on a daily basis. Because alcohol took me to a place where I could not live life without drinking. Like Jacob was saying, I got to a place where I really thought that I could, the only way I could live was drinking. I needed to drink to live, and I thought that was my only normal life. I thought that I drove better when I was drinking, and I think for a little bit, I think that was true, because the times that I tried to get in the car in the morning when I was shaking and scared and terrified, I was so scared that people would honk the horn because I didn't have the confidence to drive a car. So I was just a mess. My life became very unmanageable, where I couldn't show up for work anymore. I could not get to work. I'd wake up in the morning, I'd drink until like 3 o'clock in the morning, set the alarm for like 5:30, 6 o'clock, and then just barely wake up and be like all like, shaking and full of terror and being like, I got to go to work, and looking in the mirror and how am I going to go to work, and be like, I can't go, and all terrified, and then be like, you know what, I'm just not going to go, and then I'd go grab a beer and I'd take a drink, be like, okay, I feel better, and I spent 4 years living like that, trying to manage jobs, keeping jobs. I needed to work because I needed money to buy more alcohol. It's like if you fired me, it was good. It was a good thing you fired me, because then I can go get a drink real quick. Then I have to wait till 5 o'clock. It's like you fired me like at 9 o'clock in the morning. I can go drink right now. Thank you. That's relief. But then, a week later when my money was gone, I was like, dang, I need a job, So it's like, dang, I got to get to work, I got to send out some resumes and stuff. But I got so used to losing jobs and doing that as soon as they fired me, I started sending resumes out and started looking for work while I was drinking. And just drink and talk on the phone. Then I'd be all confident on the phone. Then I'd come to the interview, I'd have to have a couple drinks, but not enough, so they could smell it on my breath, put some gum in there, not talk so close, that's very unmanageable. That's not normal. And I lived my life like that for 4 years, and I came to Alcoholics Anonymous. I came here when things got hard. I came here when it became a little too much unmanageable. I was trying to manage the unmanageability. That's how insane it is. It's like I want to come here just to get enough. You guys give me enough information to help me keep my relationship, keep my job, and keep the things I have. Maybe I'll stop drinking just to physically get back a little bit in shape, or so where people get off my back. Or so I can get my license back or get a car, whatever it was that I thought I needed to have a manageable life according to, whatever standards are out there in the world, And as long as I can fit that standard that I thought everybody, we're supposed to live in this life, then I thought, I could drink. And that's what I try to do. I try to manage my life so that I can drink and you leave me alone. And but the last 4 years, it got more difficult and more difficult to do that. And I got to a place where I really desperately wanted to stop. I got to that desperate, hopeless place, and I really wanted to stop, and I couldn't. I had racked up, problems with the law. I didn't pay my taxes for many years, state and federal. I didn't pay those. Child support, I didn't pay that. I didn't take care of any responsibilities for many years, and I felt that, I started to get to a place drinking, and I was like, look, God, I got on my knees, my hands and my knees in the bed. And I was like, I got on my hands and knees and said, God, I can't live like this anymore. I need some help. I don't see myself coming back to life. I don't see myself, my kids, I have kids, and, going through a divorce, and I'm not with my kids. I'm living in a hotel here in Long Beach, and it's like, been here for 6 months, and nobody cares. I don't care, It's like, all I do is wake up and drink, and this is my life. It's like, I don't want to live anymore. I don't want to take my life, but I don't want to live. But God, if you could take my life, that'd be pretty cool. Because then I wouldn't have to take responsibility for that either. And then I'd be okay. Everybody else would be okay. My kids are okay. My family's okay. Just let's just get this done. And I remember I woke up the next morning, and it was a nice, beautiful day outside, and I was so miserable, and I was just so hopeless. And there I went back to the liquor store to do the same routine, it's the pattern. I got to a place where alcohol was my master. When alcohol said jump, I jumped, asked how high, which direction, what do I got to do? And that's how it was. But I kept coming back to meetings. I kept coming back, like you guys said. And, I'd come and I'd be drinking my coffee, and I'd have alcohol before I came to a meeting. And there'd be guys around me saying, I don't know how to do this. And they're like, Mark, put the cup down. I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, put this cup. I'm like, it's coffee. They're like, let's practice. Look, just put it down. Just put it down. I'm like, okay, now what? Now what do I do? Now what? Don't pick it back up. I'm like, well, I gotta go. I gotta drink my coffee. So I was just in a place where people were trying to help me, but I wasn't able to get it. I didn't get anything. I couldn't get anything. I was trying to figure it out. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? And I finally got a sponsor. They said, get a sponsor. So I found a sponsor, and I got this book, and I started reading this book. I'd read it on the bus because I lost my license, so I'd have to be on the bus and I didn't have time to read it, so I'd read it. And I'd be really, really trying to stop. And I remember the sponsor, he'd pick me up, and he'd take me to all these meetings. Every day he'd pick me up and he'd take me to meetings all throughout Los Angeles area. And we went to, I was a meeting maker full, man. Get to meetings. I'm like, man, I'm going to meetings. I'm getting to meetings. I'm here, and I'm hearing stuff, and I'm hearing people saying, man, you gotta work those steps. And I'm looking at those steps. I'm like, there's no way I'm working those steps. I hope that I'm the one that can stop. I'm the one that can stop without working those steps, because I'm not trying to do that, And what happened for 4 years, my life progressively got worse. The time that I stopped drinking, my life was progressively getting worse. And in the end, I finally came into the rooms and I surrendered. And the surrender for me wasn't, it took a lot of courage. It takes a lot of courage to walk through those doors, especially when you're coming in from just stopping drinking. I know what that terror feels like and that fear. But when I came in the last time and I raised my hand and I said, my name is Mark, I'm an alcoholic, I said, and I'm scared. I'm really, really scared. I'm scared because this is the last meeting of the night, and when I walk out of that door, I'm going to go to the liquor store and I'm going to drink, and I don't know how not to do that. And I need help. And after the meeting, a couple guys got around me and they said, are you willing to go to any length? And I said, yeah, I'm willing to go to any length. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. And they gave me some very, very simple direction. And I said, well, I don't know if I'm willing to do that. I don't know if I'm willing to do that. But they waited for me. They waited for me to really make the decision. And I made the decision to follow the direction. And I took their direction. And I got myself into a sober living. Got myself around it, because the place where I was living was just not a place where I was going to stay sober. And I got into sober living, and guys took me to meetings, and they told me, you got to find a sponsor. And I knew that this time I wasn't coming to meetings just to sit back and hang out and fellowship. I didn't surrender to the fellowship. I didn't surrender to the meeting place. I didn't surrender to commitments. I surrendered to the fact that if I did not get a sponsor that was going to take me through this book, like was suggested for 4 years, I heard it. I mean, I heard a lot of mess stuff when I come to the rooms. I hear about everybody's problems. I hear about relationships. I hear about all this crazy stuff when I come to meetings. But in that, I would hear, get a sponsor, work the steps out of this book. And so I knew that was the only thing I hadn't done. So if that didn't work, I knew I was the one that was going to be doomed, and I was the one that was going to die. So I wasn't trying to be a part of the mess anymore. I really wasn't trying to be a part of the fellowship. I just wanted to get a sponsor to work those steps, and that's what I did. I found the guy, and he sat me down. He gave me direction. The moment I got his phone number, the moment I gave him a call, he gave me direction in this book, and I started doing it. He had me read the doctor's opinion, and I read the doctor's opinion. I called him back, and we got together. And we started reading out this book. He had me read Bill's story and do an outline of Bill's story as I was reading it and write my story. And, there's a solution more about alcoholism. I understood what I suffered from. I understood that I am different. I hear a lot of people say in this program, you're not different, you're not unique. I am. I got an allergy. I got an allergy to alcohol. I am not a normal drinker. I am an abnormal drinker. There are some people that can go out and take a drink, have a couple drink, put it down, go home to their family, they can get drunk at a Super Bowl party just like me, and I could drink like them, and we all look like alcoholics, but the next day they're normal, and I'm still the alcoholic, And so I am different in that aspect, and not everybody is a real alcoholic. Not everybody's an alcoholic. And it took me a long time in this program to understand and have the wisdom to know the difference. It's like I need a serenity prayer for that one, because the people are trying to tell me to not drink no matter what, driving me crazy as a real alcoholic. I'm like, I can't do that. You're telling me not to drink no matter what. It's like, it's like I've tried that for so many years, and I end up in hospitals, jails, institutions when I try to do that. And I feel like my self-esteem is so low because the one that can stop doesn't understand what I'm suffering from. Doctors are like, man, I went to the doctor one time, and I had him check my liver because I was starting to pee blood and stuff like that. And so he checked my liver, and he had a little chart, and on the chart it had like a scale, and it said, here's cirrhosis, and here's a normal liver. And he's like, you're like right here, about 75% of the way. And my question to him was, well, how much more can I drink? I mean, like, if I keep drinking, am I going to get cirrhosis, like, right away? Like, how long will it take? It's like I wasn't really trying to drink. I was scared. I really was, and I really was scared, but I also knew the reality I knew was that I couldn't stop drinking. It was like, dang, I'm doomed. I don't want to die of cirrhosis of the liver. It's like if I take another drink, is that going to happen? you know, and that was my reality. So warning from the doctor did not stop me from drinking. Going through a divorce, I got divorced. Alcohol I couldn't stop, even if it was for a relationship. Falling in love, man, I would be drinking and being like in terror, watching my life fall apart. That's what it was for me. And, but when I finally surrendered the steps, I admitted I was powerless over alcohol and my life became unmanageable. I understood why I was powerless. I understood. And my life was unmanageable, definitely. And I thought my life was only unmanageable the last 4 years because it was like really unmanageable and everybody knew it was unmanageable. But when I looked at Bill's story and looked at my story and I looked back when I was like 12, 13, 14, 15 years old, it was unmanageable right there. It said, when I'm 17 years old, my driver's license, and I want to drink and I give the keys to my best friend who's 14 years old to drive my car, that's unmanageable. That's like one example, like, boom, that's like so simple. Very unmanageable. Blacking out, not caring. Where I wake up, it's like that's unmanageable at 15, 16 years old. And dropping out of high school, all that stuff. Alcohol was my master. If lack of power is my problem, she read at page 45. Lack of power is my dilemma. If that's my problem, then the solution's got to be power. But I don't have any willpower. I don't have any power, so I need to find a power that's not me. And if it's not me, and it's not me, then it's got to be greater than me. And so, We Agnostics, my sponsor had me read We Agnostics in this book. And in We Agnostics, it says that, am I willing to believe that there's a power greater than myself that even exists in this universe? And so I struggled with that one because I didn't want to have to believe in God again, and all this stuff. It's like, oh, man, she read that in the beginning. And my sponsor said, Mark, do you believe that there's a power greater than you? I was like, I don't know. I'm not sure. It's going to take me some time to get through step 2. I got to take my time on this step. And he said, Mark, let me break it down to you really simple. Do you believe that there's nothing greater in this universe than you? Do you believe you're it? You're like the all-powerful? You're everything, huh? It's like, well, I'm not going to say that, But the reality is that's how I was living my life. I was living my life as though there was nothing greater than me in this universe. And what I said go, and I was in control, and nobody was going to tell me any differently. And I was like, damn, that makes sense. So I was like, okay, I'm willing to believe that there's a power greater than me, even though I don't understand that power. And the We Agnostic says, wow, that's great. You finished with step 2, let's go to step 3. It's like, wait a minute, we're going too fast, We're going too fast here. But it was like, wow, really? Really? I'm on step 3? I was like, dang, talk about self-esteem. I'm like, for the first time, I'm actually making progress in something because I was used to destroying my life. You know what I mean? I was spending my whole life destroying with alcohol and all that other stuff and hurt and all this. Oh, man, it was a mess. So now I got I had drank myself to zero, bankrupt, I didn't know anything about humility. My whole life was I was humiliated. Felt like I was humiliated coming in those rooms, but come to find out that I was learning something about humility, and I had to be humble to nothing, financially, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, and so I didn't have any power. Zero. I had zero power. So when I got to step 2 and I came to believe that a power greater than myself can restore me to sanity, it wasn't that I was insane in life. Because when I didn't drink, I looked like a normal person. I wasn't insane. But when it came to that first drink, it's like it's insane to pick up a drink again after all the stuff that I've been through. So I needed that power greater than myself to restore me to sane thinking as it comes to alcohol. And so I made the decision in step 3 to turn my will and my life over to the care of God as I understood Him. And I got on my knees with my sponsor, and we said this 3rd step prayer. And it's found in this book, in the 3rd step, and how it works. And I offer myself to God. It was my first attempt at sincerely saying, you know what, God, I'm not going to try to do it my way. It's like I'm gonna practice turning my will, my life over to you, and trying not to run the show anymore. I'm just going to be your child. You're going to be the dad. You're going to be the father. You're going to be my daddy, and I'm going to be your son. And you're going to give me some direction. I'm going to do my best with the help of you, your power, and the people in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, and any spiritual advisors that I can have in my life to do your will. And And my sponsor would tell me, and God's will for your life right now is to finish these steps. That's all you got to worry about. You don't got anything else anyway, so let's just do these steps. And so I did. So I went to the fourth step in making a fearless and searching and fearless moral inventory. And what I've come to find, looking back, is that I didn't need that power anymore to go get my license back. I didn't need that power to go get that job back. I didn't need that power to go save that relationship. I didn't need that power to go fix things on the outside. I needed that power so that I could finish the rest of the steps. I needed that power to do step 4. And so I sat down and, trudgingly or drudgingly, however you want to look at it, I looked at step 4 in the big book. We read that, and I started to make a list of all the people that I had resentments toward. I started to look at what caused the resentments. I looked at all the instincts and insecurities that developed as a result of what they did to me. And then in the fourth column, I looked at what was my part, and what I saw once I finished that, was a pattern. I saw a pattern in my life. For the first time in my life, I saw a pattern. And I looked at my fears. I listed all my fears, what caused those fears, how did it affect me. Then I looked at the part that has sex relations. And my whole life, I used to think it was sex problems. And it wasn't until recently that I'm like, dang, the reason it's sex problems is because I never really had a true relationship. And so today I look at it as a relationship inventory, which includes sex. And so I looked at all the relationships that I've had in my life and how I've harmed people in that way. And when I looked at all of my inventory, for the first time in my life, I was like, wow. It's like, that's who I am, Without God, that is who I am. And it was like, I don't want to live like that anymore. And I remember I called my sponsor. I said, okay, I finished my 4th step. Because before I make the 4th step, I have fear. And my sponsor told me, well, just make the 4th step, and you don't have to share it with anybody. If you finish that 4th step and you don't want to share it with anybody, you can just toss it, and don't do the rest of the steps. So I did it that way. But by the time I finished it, I called him up and said, man, I don't want to live like this anymore. He's like, all right, you ready for your 5th step? I'm like, yeah, I think I'm ready. And so we got together, started working on my 5th step. And what I experienced in the 5th step was so much grace. So much grace. It wasn't about all the things that I did. It wasn't about all my actions and behaviors. What it was is coming to find the nature of why did I do these things? What was it in my nature, in my character, that was causing all this stuff to happen in my life? And it wasn't even about alcohol. It had nothing to do with alcohol. What it had to do with was my character defects. I did not have a design or a way to live life. Definitely not life on life's terms or God's terms. And so for the first time in my life, I saw that I didn't want to live like that, and I was open now to a new way, to practice new principles that were going to help me to live a better life. And by this time, the obsession to drink was gone, so I wasn't even thinking about alcohol anymore. And that just kind of vanished. I didn't realize it, but it did. I would spend all my time working these steps, coming to meetings, trying to carry a message. My sponsor would say, go to meetings and talk about the step you're on, and just share with people how God's working in your life. And I did. And I did that, and I did it, and I did it, and I did it. And people got to see me recover. And step 6, in the 4th column were all my defects, So when I got to step 7, I was like, God, I don't want to live like this anymore. So I got on my knee to my 7th step. I asked God to remove those defects, those shortcomings. And I needed some of that humility, because I was getting ready to go back to the people now who I had resented and hated so bad in my life, that now I was going to start saying, hey, man, I realize now, it took me working some steps to realize, dang, that I had a part in what was happening, and my perception was all wrong, and I made some amends and stuff. Started that process. That was really cool. I mean, that really opened me up to understand that a lot of what I was suffering from, a lot of what my walls were stuff that was built from within inside of me, and people forgave me and forgave them. It was an awesome experience, and I didn't get to do all my amends, right away. But I was making progress in that area. Financial amends, I'm still making those to this day, paying off taxes and stuff. California State tax sent a letter to my company recently saying, please stop garnishing Mark's wages. He's paid his taxes to the California State, and so that amends is cleared. The federal government, I didn't pay my taxes for 10 years, and I called them when I got sober and stuff, and they said, well, take your time and get a job. And I understood now that the reason they said take my time is because they wanted me to have some money to pay. Because if you don't have the money, then there's a compromise you can do and pay less. But anyways, I didn't know about that. So I got a little resentment over that, and then I had to take my inventory on that and say, okay, God, not my will, your will be done. So working with the federal government, in June, we're working together to come to a compromise, and I'm willing to go to any length to clear that wreckage. Child support, started paying my child support, on time, and paying back child support and getting that wreckage cleared up. And there's just so many things. Got my license back, got a car, got a couple cars, company gave me a car on top of that. I was like, man, this is nuts. Like, I couldn't even keep my license, people are trusting me with stuff, getting responsibility at work. I got married in December of last year. That's like, whoa, I never thought, I'm an alcoholic, the way I drank, nobody wanted to be with me. I was hopeless when it came to a relationship. Who gonna want to stay with me? Are you kidding? You might stay for a little while, but then at some point you're gonna say bye-bye, but, we've been together in a relationship in Alcoholics Anonymous as a foundation for almost 3 years, and married now for a few months. And it's like, wow, And the cool part is some of my amends, that I hadn't made and didn't even realize it were people in the church and stuff. And I went back to church and saw these people, and I still had resentments. I was like, dang, I thought I recovered, from all this stuff and mended all that, but I didn't. And I walked through that stuff and built those relationships back and made some amends there. And, man, the 9-step promises continue to grow. It's like, wow, this is amazing. I'm seeing God in a whole new way. I started going back to church, make amends there. I was smoking. I stopped smoking. God gave me the power to stop doing that, I was able to get honest with the people in my life, whatever harm I caused. I took my inventory again with the help of my spiritual advisor in the program. Sponsors not in the book, spiritual advisors is what I have. I have spiritual advisors in the church, and with the help of, I need like the spirit of the universe, the power, the God Almighty, all-loving God. I need the program, 12 steps, church. I need everything in order for me to like get honest with another human being. That's the foolishness of this whole program to me. It's like I need all that just to get honest. And I was able to get honest with my wife about certain things, and we were able to get past and still working on certain things. And it's just like, wow, she's able to get on. I can be honest today, It's like, wow, that's like amazing. It's amazing. It really is. And, and it's just the beginning, I'm getting to build relationships with my kids like I never had before, relationships with my family. The hope that I have in my life, today I realize that I have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. I've recovered from alcoholism. The baffling feature of alcoholism, and what this book says and defines it, is the inability to leave it alone, no matter how great the necessity or the wish. What is it? Fill in the blank. That's alcoholism to me. It's like, if I can't leave it alone, I'm suffering because I'm obsessing, and I'm going to cause some harm there. I don't care what it is. If it's a drink, then it's insane. I'm going to probably drink and I'm going to die. If it's a relationship or any other problem in my life, if I can't leave it alone, I'm going to cause some harm there. But thank God I got some steps to help me, and some grace to make those amends and some forgiveness to extend to others and for them to extend to me. If you're suffering, if you're new, whatever the case is, whether you're an alcoholic or not, I really highly suggest that you get this book, start reading it, and find yourself in this book. If you find that you're not a real alcoholic, then that's awesome. Keep coming to meetings, but also understand that this program is for the real alcoholic that cannot stop no matter what. And, and if you are the real alcoholic, I strongly suggest that you get this book and you find a sponsor that's going to take you through this book and work these steps. The book promised me, that I would have a spiritual experience, and I did. And I couldn't live off of your experiences. I had to get my own. And statistics, self-help books, doctors, all these books and all this information that's out there to help them understand the real alcoholic couldn't help me stay sober. What I needed was another alcoholic to sit down with me that had the depth and weight of the experiences and understanding what a real alcoholic is to help me stay sober. And I'll read this and then I'll quit and stop because I have the power to do that today. The power greater than myself. I'm just joking. It's a joke. In working with others in step 12, step 12 is having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps. we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. And it says right here that in Working with Others, Chapter 7, page 89, it says, practical experience shows that nothing will so much ensure immunity from drinking as intensive work with other alcoholics. It works when all other activities fail. This is our 12th suggestion. Carry this message to alcoholics, to other alcoholics. You can help when no one else can. You can secure their confidence when others fail. Remember, they're very ill. You know, life will take on new meaning. To watch people recover, to see them help others, to watch loneliness vanish, to see a fellowship grow up about you, to have a host of friends, this is an experience you must not miss. And we know that you're not going to want to miss it. Frequent contact with newcomers and with each other is a bright spot of our lives. I come to meetings today because you guys are a bright spot in my life. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you.